Welcome back, peeps. My name is Chad Wilson from Simple Cloudware, and today we're going to be talking about why we are setting up this channel. So, about 2 years ago, I was laid off again. And I did see it coming because the company I was working for actually got killed in a Google algorithm change, and our revenue dropped like 80%. And I knew I wasn't a part of like the main focus of the company. Plus I worked at home. So all the signs were that we were going to get laid off, but we didn't know when. And so then I was like, okay, what should I do now? And you guys are thinking, well, let's just go and start your own business. No, that's a totally bad idea. But what I did do is instead of getting another management job, I decided to go back to programming. And it had been about 4 or 5 years since I had been programming full time. I was managing teams and the like. I'd crossed the 20-year mark in my career. So there was most of what I was doing is laying out projects and these sort of things. So I decided to go back to programming. And what did that mean? I didn't know the tech. And so here I am on a team, and it was Angular, and it was Azure Cloud, and everything else. And so I had to learn from the ground up again. And this has been the 4th time that I've had to really start over my career, where there's just absolute changes in technology, which means it's a total do-over. I'm just like right back in the trenches where everyone else is. So I had to eat humble pie and go all the way back to the beginning, which was actually pretty terrible because I was really used to being in management, and you don't know until you're not in management anymore, but no one says good morning. No one laughs at your jokes anymore, right? And people are really not even that interested in what you have to say. And so I had to make some changes. And so I started on my journey programming again, back to my roots. And as I started doing this, there was a promise that I would do more cloud stuff. And they got into the cloud and noticed that if they didn't get it set up correctly, that it was more expensive than just hosting at the regular telco or whatever. But I knew there was a different way of doing it. So I tried to convince them, but I'm just the programmer, so no one listened. And I decided that I was going to experiment and see if I could set it up on my own. And that was the birth of Simple Cloudware, is can I set up a set of software that use the serverless cloud in such a way that it would give us our promised 95% less on the cost, even at volume, and actually pretty much free anytime else. So I started creating an API in which then I started putting into a function. So I was using the functions as an API. And I worked along at this, and I started noticing that it was true that I could actually do this stuff super, super cheap. And so I went after everything that the company didn't want to do, or they had third parties doing. And that was logging and usage and pinging and toggling and validations and the like. And I started setting it up. And that was really 2018. So now, 2019, I'd gotten quite a distance in the API. But without a user interface, no one was ever going to purchase it. And I was thinking, well, maybe I'll just try to sell it as an API on, some of these API exchanges or whatnot, but that was not going to be realistic. And so I decided, okay, New Year's resolution, I'm going to go on to LinkedIn and find some new graduates in the Philippines and see if I can hire them. And of course it would be, you would think, okay, you just can't do that. So I just went to LinkedIn and started IMing recent graduates from the University of the Philippines. I don't even remember what the university was called. And 2 people responded. And I negotiated a deal with them, and they started putting the UI together. Because remember, I don't know Angular. And so I was going to need some major help to actually put a full-fledged UI together. And that was kind of phase 2 of the project. Is as soon as I got the yes, which I was kind of surprised, then I had to scramble because I needed to set up all the infrastructure. And I thought, great, I'll just go to visualstudios.com and I'll set up all the stories and the like. And I have this person that's ready to start working. And I couldn't use any of it. I couldn't use anything. It was all new, and what I remembered, it didn't work that way. And so I was scrambling big time. And then I finally got, the first 10 stories created and assigned them. And we did 3-week sprints because I couldn't write the stories fast enough to do it any sooner. And so we got into a pattern of 3-week sprints. I was writing the stories, and I was one step ahead of them in creating the API. So I would create the next step of the API, write the stories, and the next sprint, they would code the Angular app to actually use the API. So I was creating an interface. And the goal was to get it done by summer. And because one, I didn't have extra money, and I had some stuff I knew I could sell, but I knew I was going to get completely over budget in like in a couple months. And if I squeezed all the money and sold everything I could possibly sell, then maybe by summer, if I was paying these 2 people, I could have a product. Of course, it didn't go well. And so we started off going, and I ran out of money and I ran out of time. And by my goal of the beginning of the summer, we were about halfway there. But I knew exactly where we needed to go. And so after that, I laid out the next, what I thought was going to be 3 months, and I was going to be done by the end of summer. And I committed to that, and I started spending money to do that, and money I really didn't have. And I sold everything I could. I paid out of my pocket, and I paid actually too much out of my pocket. And I kind of just ignored it. And what happened was, even though I was paying them out of money out of my checking account, we started buying groceries on the credit card. And so it kind of started going like that. And so I was kind of in denial a little bit, no, a lot. And so, but I wasn't actually tracking the numbers. But I did notice that the credit card was going up. But I was like, oh, it's just other things. And, we've just got to get ourselves under control, and it's going to be fine. So by the end of summer, we all actually had something that you could look at. You could click around. It was useful, but it was not done. And so we recommitted. And I put more money on the credit card. And and we finished the product October 17th. Usable product, API, and an admin. And that's kind of phase 2 of what I did. And so then the next challenge was, now that I actually have a product and a usable UI to configure the product, how was I going to tell people about it? So I did a little bit of research and I was like, okay, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a YouTube channel, and I'm going to put tutorials on this channel on how to build things in the serverless web or the serverless cloud. And I went to task to do that. And the first thing that I noticed is I knew nothing about making a YouTube video. I didn't know, one, I didn't have a camera. I had an old camcorder, which I thought was just fine. And I put the first video together, and then everyone was like, no. And then I like got dressed up like I was some kid, and I had a hoodie on and tried to like be cool, and it was so bad. It was even worse. And so the first video I think I shot 10 plus times until I sort of figured out a couple things. And I thought, okay, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the first 10 tutorials, and then I'm going to reassess, and I'm going to do the second 10 tutorials, and then I'm going to reassess again, and I'm going to start this pattern of reassessment. So I put together the first 10, which took a long time. And I had to learn how to edit. I had to learn how to use Photoshop. I had to find an old copy of Photoshop and to create thumbnails. I didn't know how to do any of this. So step by step by step, I put these 10 videos out there. I thought it was awesome. And what happened is no one watched them. And the sympathy watches I got from friends and family and people that my boy graciously sent me from his Discord server, they would watch the intro and the preview, and as soon as the tutorial started, everybody dropped off. And even the videos that did get several hundred views, as soon as I started the tutorial, they stopped. And I thought, okay, well, what I need to do is I need to get the production value better. So I had a friend that knew about camera stuff, and he came over and suggested that I get a couple lights and that I fix the audio and that I start using my cell phone instead of my camcorder. I thought, okay, that's fair. And so then I shot the next 10 on that setup. I had my $50 Amazon lights, and I had my iPhone. And I did a couple different shots and whatnot, and I put them out there, and the exact same thing happened. Is people would watch the intro, they would watch the preview, and they would leave as soon as I said, let's get started. I would say, let's get started, and everybody left. It was so terrible. And so then I didn't know what to do. But I'd kind of built in an assessment every 10 videos. And so then I started thinking, okay, I don't know if YouTube is the place for somebody that's just starting out to throw out these, sometimes 40-minute long tutorials and teach people how to use stuff. What I need to do, I need to double down and create an online course. And then I about had a heart attack. Because how am I going to now go from a programmer to somebody that's trying to do stuff on YouTube? I'm totally in debt now because I spent all my money last year and on the credit card to build this app. How am I now going to build a course? And I don't know yet. I'm slowly putting the course together. And instead of doing tutorials on YouTube, I thought what I would do is bring you along in this journey to create a software company. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to accomplish it. I don't know how long it's going to take or if I'm going to run out of money, but I thought it would be just a lot more fun if we all did this together. And that's why I started with this video, to catch you up to what I've been up to for the last 18 months, where I am, and where I'm going to try to go. So in the next couple weeks, I'm going to attempt to launch a course and then send people there to see if someone will actually buy it. And I'm going to record what happens every step of the way. And if not anything else, then this is going to be a very interesting failure. So buckle up, because 2020 is going to be the year that transforms my life, and maybe yours too. Stay tuned, and remember, keep your head in the clouds.